The morning sun rose over the quiet human settlement on the edge of the valley. Daniel, a single father, stood on the small wooden porch of his home, sipping a cup of warm coffee while his daughter Lily played with an old toy drone. Life had been slow and simple since the wars between humans and alien species had ended. The galaxy was in an uneasy peace, and many alien refugees had arrived on Earth, struggling to survive in a world that wasn't built for them. Daniel had always tried to stay away from the chaos of politics and war. He worked as a mechanic, fixing ships that came in from off-world, and spent most of his time caring for Lily. She was 8 years old, bright, and endlessly curious. Her mother had passed away years ago, leaving Daniel to raise her alone. He had learned how to cook, clean, and make her laugh, but there were nights when he could see the loneliness in her eyes. That evening, while walking home from the repair yard, Daniel noticed something unusual. Near the old transport terminal, in a dim corner where light barely reached, sat a figure wrapped in torn fabric. It looked like a woman, but her silver skin reflected faint light and her hair shimmered like liquid crystal. He recognized the signs, writing she was an alien, one of the refugees from the war-torn planets that had recently joined the Peace Alliance. She looked weak, her head bowed, her arms wrapped around a small child who was sleeping against her chest. The child was tiny, maybe 5 or 6 years old, with pale gray skin and deep blue eyes that flickered faintly even while asleep. Daniel stopped walking. He hesitated, unsure what to do. Most people ignored the refugees. Some even treated them like trouble. But when he saw the woman's trembling hands, his heart couldn't stay quiet. He slowly approached. "Hey," he said softly, not wanting to scare her. "You okay?" The woman looked up quickly. Her eyes were bright like glass under moonlight. She tensed, pulling her child closer. "Please, no trouble," she whispered in a shaky voice. Her words were accented but clear. "We will leave soon." Daniel shook his head. "I'm not here to cause trouble. You look cold." "You've been out here long?" She hesitated, unsure whether to trust him. "2 nights, she finally said. "We lost our home. No credits. No food." Daniel felt something twist in his chest. He looked at the sleeping child and then back at the alien woman. "You can't stay out here. Nights get colder near the valley. You'll both freeze." She looked down, ashamed. "We have nowhere else to go." He sighed, thinking for a moment. He knew what people would say. Bringing an alien into his home would invite gossip. But he also remembered Lily asking just a few days ago, "Daddy, why don't I have a mommy like other kids?" That question had broken something inside him. "Come with me," he said finally. "I've got space. You and your kid can stay the night." The woman looked stunned. "Why?" she asked softly. "Because no one should sleep on the street," he said simply. "And because my daughter, she needs company too." The alien woman hesitated but finally nodded. She gently woke her daughter, who blinked up with sleepy, glowing eyes. Together they followed Daniel through the quiet streets to his small wooden house. When Lily saw them enter, she froze for a second. Then her eyes widened with excitement. "Dad!" "Who's that?" she asked, running forward. Daniel smiled gently. "This is our guest for tonight. She and her little girl needed a place to stay." Lily's eyes sparkled. "She's so pretty," she whispered. The alien woman gave a small, awkward bow. "I am Elira," she said softly. "This is my daughter, Kale." "Hi, Kale," Lily said happily, waving. The little alien girl hid behind her mother at first, but peeked out shyly. Within minutes, Lily was showing her toys and trying to make her laugh. Elira watched them, her silver eyes softening. For the first time in many days, she saw her child smile again. Daniel noticed it too. He cooked a simple dinner, soup and bread, and though Elira ate quietly, she kept murmuring thanks in a voice filled with relief. After dinner, Daniel offered them the guest room. "It's small, but it's warm," he said. Elira looked around, her voice trembling. "No one has been this kind. Not since the war." Daniel gave a tired smile. "Kindness shouldn't depend on what planet you're from." That night, while Lily and Kale slept together on a pile of blankets, Daniel sat near the window with Elira. She told him pieces of her story, how her world was destroyed, how her husband was lost during evacuation, and how she had been drifting from colony to colony, trying to find a place safe for her daughter. Her voice carried exhaustion but also strength. "I thought humans hated us," she admitted quietly. "Back on the colonies, some said you saw us as enemies still." Daniel stared out at the night. "Some do," he said. But not all of us. I lost someone too. I know what that kind of pain looks like. Elira looked at him, the light from the window reflecting off her silver skin. You understand loss, she said softly. He nodded. Yeah. But I also learned that pain doesn't have to make you bitter. Sometimes it makes you see what matters most. The next morning, the smell of breakfast filled the house. Lily was laughing with Kale as they tried to pour cereal without spilling it everywhere. Daniel walked in, amused. Elira was helping them, her movements graceful but unfamiliar with human utensils. When she saw him, she smiled shyly. You cook better than I do, he joked. She tilted her head slightly. I am still learning. Your food tastes warm? Daniel chuckled. That's because it's not just food. It's love. The days that followed passed quietly. Daniel fixed ships during the day and Elira helped around the house. Lily and Kale became inseparable, running around the fields collecting strange rocks and inventing games. Daniel would come home tired but always find laughter waiting for him, a sound his home hadn't known for years. But soon, the outside world noticed. Some neighbors whispered, others stared. A few made rude comments when Daniel went to the market. You're letting an alien live in your house? One man sneered. Don't bring their problems here. Daniel didn't respond. He knew people could be cruel when they didn't understand something. But when he returned home and saw Lily and Kale building a little wooden fort together, he knew he'd made the right choice. One evening, as the sun set in gold and purple, Elira sat on the porch watching the two girls chase fireflies. Daniel joined her, leaning against the railing. You've given my daughter something I couldn't, he said quietly. A friend, Elira turned her gaze to him. And you gave mine something she lost long ago, safety. They sat in silence for a while, listening to the children's laughter echoing in the cool air. Finally, Elira said, when we lost our world, I believed no one could care for us again. But your kindness, it changed that. Daniel smiled faintly. You know, my daughter once told me she wanted a mother again. I told her families aren't always born. Sometimes they're made. Elira looked down, her expression soft. And sometimes they come from stars far away, she said quietly. Daniel met her eyes, and for a long moment neither of them spoke. The world around them seemed peaceful, even if only for that night. Two broken families, one human, one alien, finding something whole between them. As the stars appeared above the valley, Lily ran up, holding Kale's hand. Dad, can we keep them? She asked innocently. Daniel laughed, looking at Elira. Well, he said, smiling warmly, we'll see what the universe decides. Elira's gentle laughter joined his. The loneliness that once haunted them both had begun to fade, replaced by something fragile but real. And though neither of them said it aloud, both knew that this strange encounter, born from compassion on a cold night, had already changed their lives forever. Weeks passed quietly in the small human town. What had started as a single night of kindness had turned into something that felt like family. Daniel's home was filled with laughter again, and his daughter Lily looked happier than she had in years. Elira and her little girl Kale had become part of their everyday life, though none of them had ever said it out loud. Every morning, Elira helped make breakfast. Her silver hands were clumsy with human tools, but she tried with quiet patience. Kale and Lily would sit nearby, whispering and giggling. Daniel had never seen his daughter smile so much. Even the smallest things, a shared meal, a walk through the valley for us, felt new again. Still, Daniel knew not everyone approved. People in town were beginning to talk more loudly. Some said the aliens would bring trouble. Others warned he was being foolish to mix worlds. Daniel ignored them, but he couldn't shake the feeling that sooner or later, someone would make things harder for them. One morning, he returned from the repair yard with oil stains on his hands and tired eyes. As he walked up the path, he saw Elira sitting by the field, weaving small flowers into a crown for Lily. The two girls were laughing, chasing butterflies that glowed faintly in the sunlight. The scene stopped him in his tracks. It looked like something from another life, one that didn't know pain or war. He walked over slowly. You've got them working hard, he joked. Elira smiled softly. They said flowers make homes prettier. On my world, we did this for peace ceremonies. Daniel watched her hands as they moved gently through the flowers. You still think of your home? Every day, she said, her voice low, but not with sadness anymore. Not since coming here. That simple sentence warmed him more than he wanted to admit. Days turned into months. Alira began helping Daniel with his work. She was quick to learn about human machines and sometimes repaired old ship parts faster than he could. Her knowledge of alien technology even saved him from making costly mistakes. Slowly, the townsfolk who once whispered began to notice her skills. Some even came to Daniel's workshop asking if the Silver Lady could fix their scanners or comms. It was small progress, but it mattered. One afternoon, a transport ship from the nearby colony landed at the settlement. A uniformed official stepped out, a tall man with a scanner in his hand and a frown on his face. He was there for refugee records. When he reached Daniel's home, he asked harshly, "Is there an alien living here? Name Alira of Sereth Prime?" Daniel's heart tensed. Alira appeared in the doorway, her face calm but pale. The officer looked at her. "You're not registered in this region. You're not allowed to stay off-grid. The refugee center is 2 sectors away." Daniel stepped forward. "She's not causing harm. She works here, helps my family. She's got a child." The man ignored him. "Regulations are clear. Unregistered aliens must report for relocation." Alira's hand trembled as she reached for Kale, who clung to her leg. Lily ran up, frightened. "You can't take them," she shouted. Daniel took a deep breath. "Listen," he said firmly. "They're part of this town now. She works. Her kid plays with mine, and they're not hurting anyone. You can't just drag them away because of some line on a form." The officer stared at him coldly. "It's not your decision, human." For a moment, it looked like things might turn violent. But then the townsfolk began to gather. One of Daniel's neighbors, the same man who once mocked him, spoke up. "He's right," he said. "That alien fixed my son's medical scanner last week. Saved his life. She belongs here." Others nodded. "She's not a threat. She's working. She's part of the valley now." The officer looked around, realizing he had no support. With an irritated sigh, he finally said, "Fine, I'll note the protest. But if command questions it, it's on your head, mechanic." He turned and walked back to the ship, leaving dust swirling behind him. As the ship lifted off, Alira's knees weakened. Daniel caught her before she fell. Kale and Lily hugged tightly nearby. "It's okay," Daniel said softly. "You're safe. You're home." Alira looked up, tears glimmering in her silver eyes. "Home," she repeated quietly, as if the word itself healed something inside her. From that day, things changed. The town accepted her completely. She helped fix energy grids, taught children about her world's plants, and even worked with Daniel to build new water purifiers using alien designs. People started calling their workshop the Human and the Star Woman. But something deeper had also changed between Daniel and Alira. It happened slowly, not with sudden words, but through countless small moments. The way she looked at him when he came home late and tired, bringing her favorite tea. The way he listened to her stories about the stars, trying to imagine the world she'd lost. The way Lily and Kale began calling them both Mom and Dad when they played pretend. Neither of them said anything, afraid to disturb what they had built. But the feeling grew stronger each day. One night, a storm rolled across the valley. Lightning flashed against the dark sky and the wind howled through the wooden walls. The power went out. Lily and Kale huddled together, frightened. Daniel lit a lantern, but the wind almost blew it out. Alira sat near the window, her eyes reflecting the electric light outside. "This reminds me of the storms on Sareth," she said softly. "They were violent but beautiful." Daniel smiled faintly. "You talk about them like they were alive. In a way, they were," she said. "They tested us. They reminded us that even when everything around us shakes, the ones beside us keep us standing." Daniel looked at her for a long time. The lantern's glow traced her face, calm, strong, and gentle. "You've kept me standing too," he said quietly. Alira's lips parted slightly, but she didn't speak. The air between them felt warm despite the storm outside. When the wind finally faded and silence returned, Lily was asleep in Kale's arms. Alira looked at them, then at Daniel. "They act like sisters," she whispered. He nodded. "Maybe that's what they are now." Her gaze lingered on him. "And what does that make us?" Daniel hesitated, his voice low. "Maybe something like a family." Alira smiled faintly, and for the first time she reached out, her cool hand touching his. "Then I am thankful," she said softly, "because in all the universe I never thought I would find family again." The next morning was clear and bright. The storm had washed the valley clean. Daniel, Elira, and the two girls walked to the nearby market together. People greeted them kindly now. Some even waved at Elira, offering small gifts, flowers, fruit, or tools she could use. As they passed a mirror-like pond near the road, Lily looked at their reflection. "We look like one big family," she said cheerfully. Daniel laughed. "Maybe we are." Elira looked at the reflection quietly. She had once believed her story was over, that loss had taken everything from her. But standing beside Daniel with their daughters laughing and holding hands, she realized she had found a new chapter. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Elira stood on the porch again. Daniel joined her, carrying 2 cups of tea. They didn't speak for a long time. The sky glowed orange, fading into purple, and stars began to blink into view. Elira finally said, "When I first came here, I thought kindness was weakness. I thought humans helped only for what they could gain. You proved me wrong." Daniel looked at her with a soft smile. "I didn't help for reward. I helped because it was the right thing to do." She turned her gaze toward the horizon. "On my world, we believe that every soul carries a light. Some let it fade, others share it. You shared yours, Daniel." He chuckled gently. "Guess that makes us both light bearers then." Elira laughed softly, a sound that made him forget the years of loneliness behind him. Inside the house, Lily and Cale were building a fort again out of blankets and pillows. Their laughter echoed through the windows. Daniel looked at them, then at Elira. "Do you ever miss your husband?" he asked quietly, almost afraid to intrude. Elira's expression grew tender. "Yes," she said. "But grief fades when love returns in a new form. I think he would be happy knowing his daughter has a home again." Daniel nodded slowly. "Then maybe it's time we both stopped living in the past." Elira looked at him, her silver eyes warm. "Then let's live for them, for our daughters." He smiled. "And maybe, for us too." Elira didn't look away this time. "For us," she agreed softly. That night, as the stars filled the sky, the two girls fell asleep side by side, their hands clasped together. Elira covered them with a blanket and stood watching them for a while. Daniel came up behind her, and for the first time she leaned into him. The warmth between them was quiet but certain, not born from need but from choice. The valley outside was silent, glowing under the starlight. Two families, once broken, had become one, and somewhere deep in the sky, far beyond human eyes, the stars of Elira's lost home shimmered faintly, as if smiling down in approval. Daniel looked at her and whispered, "Welcome home." Elira smiled through quiet tears. "I am home," and for the first time in a long, long while, both of them believed it.